was super important for me to nail the sound. And I felt that there's nothing better than having live players in the studio and just kind of bounce off ideas. Like, could you play the strings closer to the bridge, or trying different techniques would kind of yield this sound that we're after, something that's gnarly, something that's darker, a bit grittier, something that's not as beautiful as if you record 60 string players and they just play this most amazing kind of melody. So I think that kind of added a lot to the score, and it was super important for me to really kind of capture that.
It's quite difficult to explain this series because there are so many stories and so many genres involved. And you don't find out a lot of the truth until really close to the end. And because we're putting all these pieces together, you have to have all these themes. Even if it feels like this doesn't exactly match what's happening in the scene, it pays off.
Also, the instrumentation was kind of a cacophony of different sounds, from beating drums to percussion to synths that are kind of detuned to each other, like oscillators being detuned, to vocals in there, violins, the entire string section on top. And all of that led to this kind of crescendo, and goes on and on and on, and it goes more and more out of tune, and it goes kind of berserk at times. And then you cut it. That kind of abrupt ending, I think, gives us a lot in terms of the emotional uncertainty. Emery is amazing. He's the percussionist and producer, and he came in and he recorded all sorts of drums from his own drum set. And then we recorded taiko drums and all sorts of kind of Middle Eastern drums just to kind of capture that kind of sort of sound. Then we had the big hall at Air. It just sounded gigantic. And then we went to Abbey Road Studio 2, where everything sounded a bit more damp, but you still had enough reverb on it to make it sound very lush and interesting. I've recorded many times in either Air or Abbey Road, but to have the pleasure of recording the same cue in two different places, and it worked beautifully for us because the soundtrack needed the same theme to be big and expansive and emotive at times, but it also needed the same cue to be more restricted, a bit smaller in space, a bit more intimate sounding, and just to blend in from one session to the other was kind of a gift that I have never had before. So, we flew in the flutists and we recorded all of the different flutes, and then decided to mix that with something less obvious Middle Eastern. I recorded a singer who had this amazing voice, and she produced this kind of almost Scandinavian, this rhythmic kind of sound. And I layered it a gazillion times, and then it came out this kind of pattern that grows towards this crescendo and is very piercing, haunting, at the same time quite beautiful. Together with the vocals, those flutes, strings and big percussive hits came this score that it's kind of a thematic idea that can translate from one country to the other.
That was what we were aiming for, right? To try and bring out the people from something that could have been cold, I think. And it doesn't necessarily mean the music has to be joyful, but it has to be, come from somewhere in the heart, I think.